We are born to the time we die, there are events that shape our lives and actions that we take that affect everything around us. History is similar to a person in that it evolves and grows over time. It's constantly striving for betterment and satisfaction. A universal aspect that ties in everything together in this world is change. From people to business entities, we bend to the will of change for survival and relevancy. Change also binds the world together by its difficulty. How sometimes, regardless of its apparent state, acting on change is difficult to achieve. The question we must ask ourselves is how to achieve change when we need it the most. My name is Jose Miguel Flores, and today I will be discussing the concept of implementing an organizational change. Like people, organizations today face similar turmoils to recognize and achieve change. In the following analysis, I will elaborate on the concept of organizational change and the steps it takes to achieve such an important subject. Basic understanding of the nature and organizational development, we can now begin to learn the process of its application towards change. The simplest way to learn of organizational development is by understanding its 5 stages. Stage 1 begins with the preemptive measures long before actual change has begun. Organizations should anticipate a need for change by gathering a perception or a snapshot of the organization's current state. Is the organization unbalanced in any area? And/or is there any area that needs improvement? Some areas that could be in need could be its strength against competition, technological, or any external environmental factors. Having this need for change is the only way to convince anyone of ever seeing that new methods must be adopted. After exploring a felt need, a relationship between the practitioner and client is to develop. The lead person who is in charge of the organizational development. They must remain neutral and possess a sense of objectivity towards all that is researched about the organization and its approach towards improvement. The client is the person being helped. In almost all cases, it's an organization that is in need of change. The quality of the relationship between the practitioner and client is a major determinant on whether organizational development will succeed or fail. As with all relationships, a good first impression is a great way to establish success. With a good first impression in place, the foundation for honest communication, along with an atmosphere of great trust and responsibility, will be set. The practitioner must also decide when to step in and in what form this will be accomplished. This is usually determined by the level of help needed, designated by the client that could grow over time to include other people in assistance to the organization's development. After preemptive needs and relationships are formed, the real work begins in the third diagnostic phase. It is the diagnostic phase because that is exactly what occurs. The collection of data. It is the collection of data that will provide a deeper understanding of client system problems that will lead to a solution. Due to high probability of the client having a bias towards diagnosing problems, the practitioner should question the client's perspective to avoid this bias from surfacing during the diagnosis. It is common for an organization to provide a large amount of data as it's needed during the diagnostic phase. Even like this, it falls short of providing a complete picture of what may actually be the cause of the problem. This in turn leads to alternative methods such as interviewing or asking questionnaires to gather qualitative data versus quantitative data. During the diagnostic phase, it is not uncommon for simple methods to turn into very alternative forms of information gathering. After the root of the problem has been discovered, resolution should be the next step. This is usually done by incorporating some form of action plans, strategies, or techniques that will increase organizational effectiveness. Some of these methods include the famous TQM, or Total Quality Management, that has been popularized in the business world, and other programs such as job design, role analysis, and team building. These are some more examples, as I just said. Regardless of the methods chosen, this stage is the most important because it is where actual change will take place in correcting problem areas. The last and final step in organizational development is the ability to self-renew, monitor, and stabilize. After discovering something that works, it is important to monitor the after effects and stabilize desired modifications. This is a vital step for it reinforces all the work in the previous steps if changes are successful. It is also important to note that if such implementation is not working, monitoring will help to begin organizational processes if need be. All the steps must be monitored to ensure the best possible outcome and must also be ready if modifications will be necessary after realizing that the initial adjustments are not satisfactory. After applying all the stages, a sense of continuous improvement is required to avoid any future problematic areas, or at least minimize them as much as possible. This means cycling through all the steps from time to time to ensure a long-term organizational change has occurred, and to be ready if another is needed. These are the fundamental steps to initiating an organizational change, and I want to thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to discuss the topic with you at hand. Mr. Follis, thank you very much.